I spent about 13 years in the pricing software space in the first part of my career. And we saw repeatedly companies in the same industry, similar sized companies, implement the same software tool and get 2 to 3x difference. In most cases, they were both very successful. The ROIs were great, but we'd see as much as a 2 or 3x difference in the lift that those companies got because of all the other things, how well it was truly embraced, whether it was only used to solve the critical problems or whether it was really embraced top to bottom in the organization. The first thing I'll mention is, and this sounds really stupid, but don't let pricing be all about price. Many companies, when you talk about pricing, they immediately go to $12.99, the price list. I mean, clearly this is a manifestation of pricing, but it's actually a very focused, small part of the whole pricing problem, and small problems get small solutions. They don't get, giant pricing systems and big initiatives, right? Pricing is much more than that. Pricing is about how you're positioning your products, the strategy you're going into the market with, which information you're going to use, the data you use to feed that system. It's about the actual decision support optimization process, what's the right price to set, how to set it, value setting. We heard some good overviews of segmentation, kind of the discipline around that. If you can come up with the greatest price list and the perfectly segmented price, how the heck do you get sales to sell it? Why pricing now is the next thing. We'll talk a little bit about the value of a pricing initiative. Traditional cost improvement initiatives, generally speaking, the really easy stuff's been knocked out. So they're usually very big investments. I want to build an entire new hub that makes my distribution cheaper. I want to automate this massive part of my process. Very expensive, very capital intensive, very expensive projects. They have a break-even period. They pay for themselves over time, but the low-hanging fruit's been plucked from that tree. Pricing still has a lot of the big improvements at smaller investments. Even a big pricing system is a fraction of the price of systems for other parts of your infrastructure internally. Not a trivial number, but much smaller. The key here is there's multiple investments this gives you. It gives you an investment advantage. In this current climate, pricing requires a smaller investment to get payback, and that has benefits when cash is being managed very closely in companies. It has a timing advantage. Pricing changes, you can actually get out there very quickly, and they most often can be captured more quickly. And it also, oops, I went the wrong button. And also it has a profit advantage. I think we talked, one of the earlier presentations talked about how much bigger lift pricing has, partly because these pieces haven't been addressed before, the opportunities are bigger, but also just the lever, pricing lever is bigger than the other levers. And so there's an investment, a timing, and a profit advantage. All of these are actually, in today's economic environment, very positive and really make pricing as applicable right now, or more applicable right now, than even in a boom kind of economy. And then when you start talking about segmentation, regional segmentation, customer segmentation, really truly beginning to unlock the value pricing, technology in general becomes a gating factor pretty quickly. Truly, pricing is a function without a home from an infrastructure standpoint in most organizations, and there's only so much you can do in Excel. There's only, I mean, they've said it here, but I think it's totally true. And even if I had a discussion earlier today, even if you can internally, you're doing some of the analysis that the tool might do offline. My example for him was, if you calculate a perfect price and gave it to a salesperson 10 minutes before he visits a customer, 10 minutes after he visited the customer, or 48 hours after he visited the customer, same price calculated with the same rigor, you get a massively different outcome in profitability. You give it to him before, he sells the value, he tries to get the customer to reach the price. You give it to him right after, he's pretty responsive, but still he's now looking, he's going to find some happy point between the customer's target and his. You give it to him 2 days later, and he's having to be very defensive and totally different profit margins. You can measure it. The tools you pick, I think, are a function of what's going to be the kind of the biggest strength for your particular, for your business, for what you're trying to accomplish. I would say that what we find is that when people start the search for a pricing tool, it starts with a massive list. And if you don't treat this as one of the most important purchases that you're going to make, and as a long-term partnership decision with the person going to be around, you're insane. We probably won't talk to you anymore because I'm like, this is going to end badly. This is not a time to be a guinea pig or to be the launch for anybody's stuff. I strongly feel that third-party tools generally have a much stronger track record in the long run than homegrown. Sometimes out of the gate they do pretty well head-to-head, but the amount of effort, they talked about R&D investment, but the amount of change over time and the ability to adapt, and this year, who could have predicted it, right? But if you'd implemented a system last year that was homegrown, and I know some of these people, beginning of 2008, you implement a tool like a pros, you implement a tool that's a homegrown tool. October hits, I would imagine, and I remember working with pros when SARS and 9/11 hit. We had customers 30 days later up and running with new pricing strategies, full speed. I love your IT department. I'm sure they're all brilliant people. I seriously doubt they were up 30 days later with all of the condition records in SAP retweaked and whatever homegrown system was up to speed. And I think these shocks and changes happen as most strategies involve more changes, more dynamic changes, experimenting. I think these tools are critical to that longer term. That may not be on the immediate radar for people who are just wrapping their heads around it, but in the long run, the people who end up with the third party end up almost invariably with much happier.